You want to capture that medial aspect of the foot. Otherwise, you don't have relative motion.
Good morning. Happy Friday. I have Neuro Coffee in hand, and it is perfect. Friday already. The week has flown by. Very busy. We got intensive 13 people 2 weeks out. From their intensive, we got the intensive 14 people starting to roll in to start their prep. So very, very busy. Digging into today's Q&A. We got another segment from yesterday's Coffee and Coaches conference call, which is really, really good. This is a segment with Andrew that led us into a discussion of split squat. So we talked about the influence of load positions and pelvic orientations. And then I threw up an image that I don't think I've used this one before on any of these segments as a representation of the sacral orientation as you're moving through the split squat. So I think that's going to be useful because I think there's some confusion as to how much turn is available to you during these activities. So I think, again, going to be enlightening, at least to some degree for some people, to clarify the understanding of where we are when we're talking about this early representation at the top of the split squat, how we're capturing the internal rotation at the bottom. Okay, so hopefully that's going to be useful for you. I'm going to set up some 15-minute consultations pretty quick here. So if you would like to participate in a 15-minute consultation, please go to askbillhartman@gmail.com, askbillhartman@gmail.com, and we will set that up at our mutual convenience. Podcast will be up on Sunday as usual, and everybody have an outstanding weekend. I will do the same, and I will see you next week.
How's it going?
It is going. We're rolling. I feel pretty good today.
Awesome. I think the pelvic position in early is starting to click in my head. So I just want to kind of run the thought process by you. So for a while, I was thinking about it think about the pelvis turning towards the left on like a left heel strike was tripping me up. And I think it's because I was thinking about it as like a flat turn. So if we take that front foot or just like a split squat with a contralateral load. So if you don't have the contralateral load, and let's just say you have a decent representation, straightforward, you would expect when you put that right hand load in place, you would expect the right sacral base to push forward a little bit, and in the left, it's almost like the left sacral base just like expands, and the left ilium kind of comes underneath, almost like so that's like it almost like scoops. Like if we look at it at the side, it's like it almost like scoops under like that, and that's the space that's created. No,
I'm not really sure on your representation. Let me give you terminology that may help. Okay. So you know how I talk about the yielding action slowing the left side down under that circumstance? Okay. So the reason that it slows the left side down is because the left side's going forward faster than the right side. And so when you get that left foot lead, early propulsion representation, it's not twisting everything hard in that direction. It's just slowing this one down. So this is the representation that you have. So this is left side forward, right side back. Can you see the difference? Like, see how big my hand is, right?
Right.
So you've got the left leg lead, right hand load, okay? And so what we're doing is this. As you descend into the split squat, it's just slowing this side down.
Right.
Then you go back up and it does this. And then you go
right
down and it does that. And it goes
right.
up and it does that. You see it? Right? So that's what the yielding actions are for, is to slow things down, because it's a rate dependent change in the connective tissues to begin with. Does that make sense?
Right, but there's a pelvic position that's associated with the starting position, right?
Yes.
Like you change the position, right? You change the position. So
yeah.
Okay, so basically, I guess.
So now we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that. See it?
Right.
You see how
Yeah.
it squares itself up? I should just, doggone it. I always forget I have this thing just sitting here.
Right. Right.
So this is the top, this is the bottom. Get it?
Right. 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 Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think it's clicking in my head. I don't even know if I have the words, but it's like, I was thinking too much about turning, and yes, it like does turn because the right compression is greater in that circumstance where you put the right hand load. But I think it's like the 4D there kind of thing. It's the, or the 3D. I mean, even just the fact that it like it's not just turning. It's like it's coming underneath almost like the innominate bone is. At least in my head, it's like it's making a little bit more room, almost like it does at the end of a squat, where the sacrum's still facing up. But maybe that's just totally wrong. I have no idea.
I don't know that you're totally wrong or anything like that. But okay, hang on a second. I'm going to bring up a picture.
Okay.
Real quick here. That might help. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So look at the black diagonal first.
Okay.
Okay. You see
All of them?
you see my arrow on the screen? You see that? I'm drawing it. You see it? Or no? Yes?
Yes.
Say yes. Okay. All right. So I'm on that diagonal, right? As you descend into the split squat, it's the next diagonal, then the next diagonal, and the next diagonal. At the bottom, where you would have your IR
Right.
representation, the sacrum would be facing straight ahead, wherever straight ahead would be relative to where it started. As you go back up, it turns back in the other direction. So we go back to our starting positions. You see it?
Yes, yes.
So this is going through time. This is what it looks like going through time. If you started in your ER representation and then you get to the IR representation at the bottom, okay?
Okay, right.
You see it?
Yes, yes. Okay, and then if we're doing, okay, so with that same person who let's say they've got the left sacral base compressed, and we use an ipsilateral load with a right foot forward, we're basically just trying to create that same position. We just know that they're biased towards the right hand turn, so we need to like hold them back into the left. So like we would say if we're trying to recapture normal relative motion, get down to the bottom of a split squat, the thought process is, okay, since they're already creating IR somewhere else in their body, not in the hip on that right side, we're just trying to take them and put them in a normal representation, like that long diagonal, or no, in the start position.
Okay. So you changed exercises on me, right? You
right, I did.
Right. You went right foot forward with the right hand load.
Yes.
Okay. So the position of the load makes it more challenging for me to go into the IR position on the right. It makes it easier to come out of the split squat and move back towards the ER representation.
Okay. Got it.
So when I have a right hand load, left foot lead, it makes it easier for me to go into the IR position on the lead leg.
Say it one more time.
Left foot forward, right hand load. So the contralateral load makes it easier for me to move into the IR representation at the bottom of the split squat.
Okay. Yeah.
Which means that I have to push harder out of the bottom to go back to my starting position. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
If I flip flop my legs, I go right foot lead, right hand load. It makes it harder for me to go into IR at the bottom of the split squat on the lead leg. And it makes it easier for me to come out of it. Okay. We always talk about going into a cut and going out of a cut.
Mm-hmm.
Contralateral load makes it easier to go into a cut. Okay. Ipsilateral load makes it easier to come out of a cut.
And that would apply even if the right foot is kind of relatively relatively externally rotated relative to the left? Because I would think like it would need to pronate, relatively speaking, and then the right hand load would help with that bottom position so that you don't roll onto the outside, or no?
So I like your thought process a lot, because you're trying to just get the system to respond. Entirely possible. Entirely possible. Because I still need that representation, because what I don't want to do, because it makes it easier to ER, I don't want that ER to be an orientation, which is what you're describing with the foot. It's like, as long as I hang on to that medial foot, I know I'm using relative motion to get in and out of that position, versus if I'm on the outside edge of the foot. Now we're back to Max's question earlier on in the call, where he was talking about the lady that had the representation where she was turned and she was on the outside edge of her foot. So she was orienting all the way over into that ER position.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Got it. Yeah. Okay. So that in that situation, would it not make it easier to get the IR representation on the front foot, or is that like it depends?
Well, if you want the IR, you're going to have that foot in that position. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to use the relative motions to get there.
What position?
As you descend into the split squat, you won't be able to use relative motions to get there if you don't capture the medial aspect of the foot. And then as you come out of it, if you don't hang on to that, you're not going to use relative motions to do that. You're going to orient everything into that position.
Right.
We want, and again, if the goal is relative motion, we want those segments to move independently of one another to allow us to access those positions and spaces.
Right. Okay. Yeah. This just came out of like experimentation and just feeling like, okay, it's easier to get front medial foot. And so I assume that's, I see a lot of people who it's like every time their right foot goes forward, the entire system turns to the right. And so, yeah. Okay.
So they're trying to orient, and your best strategy to prevent that from happening is to hang on to that medial border of the foot.
Right. Okay. And
remember, they're both there, just to whatever degree. So when that foot is the lead, whatever your lead foot is, you want to capture that medial aspect of the foot. Otherwise, you don't have relative motion.